I'm not Pamela Stacks, but I am the next one down. And Dr. Stacks, my boss and mentor, couldn't be here today. She had to be in Long Beach at the Chancellor's office for a conference. But she sends her regards. We're very happy to have you here. And obviously there's some demand for this or we wouldn't have so many people, so we hope that you'll get something useful out of this. So we don't consult with each other before we put these things together, and you might have already noticed a trend that some things get repeated. And I'm going to repeat some of those things too, hopefully in a brief way now that I hear what everyone else has said. But, it's a blank screen. You know, I deliberately chose the hottest day of the year to have this event, and you guys have it easy up there, down there, without having a tie on. But let's talk about what happens to you right at the beginning, your first semester. You all have some kind of admission status. Either you are admitted clearly, that is, you have no conditions whatsoever put on you, and you just start right in on your classes, or you have a provisional admission that Diana mentioned. The provisional admission means generally that you have a document that we need, that you've not gotten to us. Often that document is a final degree certificate, and you might imagine that we very much need to have that. The state of California does not allow anyone to enter graduate school without first having a bachelor's degree. And we need evidence that you have that. So if that is your provision, and we realize that, especially for those of you who are international students, it can be somewhat difficult to get that in a timely fashion, we are going to hold things up for you or give you a deadline by which we expect to receive those documents. So please try to get them in as quickly as you can. So that's what provisional means. There is another category that is classified versus conditional. It sounds sort of similar, but it is different. A conditional classification means that you have prerequisite courses to take. That is worked out with your individual department. They may say to you, you have to take these 3 courses, you have to get B's in all of them. We'll give you 1 chance to do it or 2 chances to do it. That should all be spelled out for you so that you know exactly what you have to do before you start on your traditional degree program. Once that conditionally classified status is met, or once the conditions are met, then you are transferred into what's called a classified classification. And that just simply means you're fine. Your conditions are taken care of. There is actually a form for that you can fill out. We have, in some departments, it's automatic when you apply for candidacy, but we'll let your graduate advisor give you that kind of information. Which brings us to your graduate advisor. You need to meet with him or her early. Even if it's a large program, somehow get yourself into their office and meet with them. Make sure you know what their expectations are, what your program is, so forth. So your program requirements are whatever the classes are that you have to complete to earn your degree. Hopefully you know what they are. Hopefully you have a roadmap, a plan for each semester in the future. So map out your whole time here, whether it's, most of you are here for 2 years, some are here for 1, some are here for 7, I hope not, but some are here for 7. And you should know exactly which courses you need to take, because not all courses are offered every semester. Some courses are offered every other year, in fact. Some are offered every other semester. So you should plan in advance what your roadmap will be. Meeting with other students in your program is, it might sound trivial, but but it's really important. The contacts that you make here are likely to be some of your lifelong contacts and professional contacts. And it is useful for your future. It's useful for your time here to not only commiserate with people, but learn about things on campus and in the community that'll be useful to you. Getting to know your professors is something Dr. Wiley stressed over at the union. You might need letters of recommendation at some point. You might need to get into a PhD program or a medical school or a doctoral program. You might want to do some research now. You might want a teaching associateship. You might want to get invited to a party. I don't know. It's really a good thing to know your professors. If they don't know who you are, they won't invite you to do any of those things. They won't be able to write a good letter for you. They won't ask you to do research with them. You can ask them, and it's a good idea to do that. But getting to know them really will set your time here well. Okay, I'm a biologist, or at least I used to be before I became an administrator. And I think in terms of life cycles. So you guys have a life cycle, and this is it. It's pretty easy. Once you're admitted, your first goal is to advance to graduate candidacy, and I'll explain all these things shortly. Then you will complete all your degree requirements, take all your classes. At the end, you will complete some kind of culminating experience. And then you will apply for graduation. We'll do a graduation check, and your degree will be conferred, and you'll be done. So just like that, you're out of here. So the first step is the advancement to candidacy. And this is a certain kind of requirement, or a series of requirements. The first is that all of your prerequisite courses have to be completed. That is, whatever is set as your conditions, if you're a conditionally classified student, those must all be taken with passing grades so that you can switch from conditionally classified to classified status. That's a requirement for candidacy. We will not let you advance without that. There is a minimum GPA of 3.0 required in 9 graded units. So be sure you take some graded classes, not just a bunch of credit, no credit classes. Take 9 graded classes in order to advance. And then you must complete, and this microphone seems to have gone haywire, you must complete this thing called the GWAR, or GWAR, depending on which campus you're on, how they pronounce it. It is the graduation writing assessment requirement, and it is equivalent to competency in written English. Your candidacy form is signed by you and signed by your advisor. Once the advisor signs that thing, that is the advisor's blessing that everything on there is okay. In other words, your advisor has checked whether you've completed the GWAR. Your advisor has checked all your transfer classes and approved them. We look at that, or GAPE looks at that, and says, okay, the advisor's approved them. We don't have to get another form from the advisor. We're cool with it. And onward you go. There is a deadline for submission. Diana would want me to emphasize this. The deadline for submission to advance to candidacy is 1 semester before you graduate. That is a problem sometimes if you delay advancing to candidacy too long. And then all of a sudden, you want to graduate, you got a job lined up, it's February, you want to get out of here so you can start your job in the summer. But I haven't advanced to candidacy yet, and we won't let you graduate. We need you to advance the semester before, and there are reasons for that. the candidacy form, we call it, which is formally the Petition for Advancement to Graduate Candidacy, that's what it's called, but we call it the candidacy form. It is a contract between you and the university. It has a listing of all the courses that you'll be taking and all the courses that you have taken with the grades and the semester shown. It has all your transfer courses if you have any of those. It has your GWAR. It has what degree program you're in. And it is pretty much set in stone. There are a few exceptions to us allowing you to change anything on that form once it's done. Now you can do it. You can get permission from your advisor and substitute a course if you need to, but not once it's been taken. Once the courses are taken and a grade has been issued you, that grade stays on your candidacy form. That grade stays with you for the graduation checks that will be done. And the checks are twofold. You must earn a 3.0 minimum GPA overall in all the classes you take. You must also earn a 3.0 in all the courses that are on the candidacy form. So in case you take some extra courses, the registrar will check to see that you've gotten a 3.0 in those. GAPE will check to see whether your candidacy GPA is 3.0. So if you got an F or a C minus, C minus is not a passing grade in graduate school. So if you get a C minus, it stays on that form and it's used to compute your grade point average. You are allowed to retake a class that you get anything under a B in, but we don't have anything called grade forgiveness at the graduate level. The undergrads have that. They can just expunge a grade, but we don't think at the level of graduate education that should be allowed, so we don't allow it. Instead, we have grade averaging. So if you take the course over, the two grades will stay in place and they're averaged together. Both are used to compute the GPA. Again, once a course is taken, it can't be removed, so be careful what you put on that form. The other requirement for advancement to candidacy is that you demonstrate competency in written English. And there are a number of different means by which you can do this. The vast majority of you will have to do it by taking a university-approved course. And on the Grad Studies website, there is a listing of all the courses by college and by program, by department. Most of the courses are required in your programs anyway, and you'll get credit for GWAR by taking them. Some departments will have you do things like 100W, which is actually an undergraduate level course. It's an upper division course. And that is what they use to satisfy GWAR in that program. So you just have to look up the list or consult with your department website to see what the courses are that you can take. There are, as I said, that's the way most of you will fulfill the requirement. There are a few other ways. If you're a graduate of any of the CSU campuses, if you have a bachelor's degree from any campus, including this one, you have already taken 100W. And therefore, you've demonstrated English competency, we don't make you demonstrate it a second time, so you'll be done. And people are pretty bewildered with me often. They say, well, I didn't go to a CSU, I went to a UC campus. And you don't allow a course from a UC campus to satisfy the requirement. Well, that's not exactly true. I allow some courses from the UCs to satisfy them if they are equivalent to 100W. That is, if they are an upper division, writing intensive communication course that has professional standards covered and that is discipline specific. So, for example, It's like a line here that I can't go past. For example, if you are in engineering and you have a course called 102E, I think it is, from Davis, unfortunately, your course has very little in it other than group writing assignments. And I don't know if you did them or if somebody else did them, so I can't allow you to a waiver for that course. But if you went to UC Irvine and you took their 102E, which is all individual writing, and you got a B in it, then you'll get a waiver. So that's the outside course thing down here. And in order to qualify for a course that you took, qualify a course that you took for a waiver, you need to go to your graduate advisor and prepare a petition to send to me. I've kind of simplified this petition process in the last few months. I used to make people hand in papers that they wrote, and we've decided not to do that anymore. If you got a B or better in the course, and you can justify the course itself as being equivalent to 100W, then we'll give you the waiver. But it has to come through your graduate advisor. The reason for that is that in some programs, they're going to make you take the course anyway. In my old department, biology, everybody has to take the GWAR course because there are things that they cover in it that are higher in level than the undergraduate level. It is graduate level communication skills, and they want everybody to have those skills. And therefore, everyone, no matter what they've taken before, has to take that course. So there's no point in sending, in applying for a waiver in that department. So go to your advisor first if you think you have a course that qualifies. The other means is if you have written either a thesis or a professional publication. It has to be single authored. So you know, if you have a publication out there, we figure that you know how to write a paper, and we'll give you a waiver for that. Okay. This is never pleasant, but I'm the graduate officer that's in charge of academic problems. So if you have to come and see me during some time, it's probably not a good thing. If your GPA drops below 3.0 at the end of a semester, you will be put on academic probation. 3.0 is a B, and we expect graduate students to excel. And getting under a B average is not acceptable. So if you go on probation, you're on probation until you raise your overall GPA back up above 3.0, and then the probation ends. This is academic probation, and that's a university requirement, applicable to all of you. Some of you are in departments that have even stricter requirements. For example, if you're in special education, you have to get a B in every single class in the program. If you get a B minus, you can take the class over one time. If you don't pass it, then they disqualify you. So if you should check department websites, check with your advisor to see if there are any programmatic level, department level requirements that are stricter than university requirements. If you do in those cases, for example, in that case, if you fail to get a B, you would be put on administrative academic probation. It's just a term. And then if you fail to get the B a second time, you would be put on administrative academic disqualification. And there are consequences of these things. If you're on academic disqualification, should you panic? No, in the sense that you can be reinstated fairly easily. You fill out a reinstatement petition. You have to jump through some hoops. Generally, you have to take a couple of extra classes, and you have to take them through Open University in order to be reinstated. But then you're back in. Unfortunately, the panic will really set in the knowledge that you can't get disqualified a second time, because that is the last time you can't be reinstated after a second disqualification. It's permanent. Okay, we're zooming through your degree program. You're almost all the way there, and your final semester. You might have started your culminating experience before that, but in your final semester, if a thesis is your culminating experience, we want to emphasize that you must submit it on time. We don't take them even a day late, and you shouldn't submit it prematurely. I review all theses on campus, so I read every one of them, and I have to approve them. And if there are too many grammatical errors, too many writing errors, too many problems with not referencing, not getting permissions for illustrations you've included, then I'll reject them, and you'll have to wait another semester to graduate. So it's best not to have that happen the first time, truthfully. The personnel at GAPE, the evaluators, will do a graduation check, which is a degree check. They'll see that, they'll look at the requirements of your program, see that you've taken all the courses, gotten the right number of good grades. In other words, they will determine whether you have a 3.0, that you don't have any failing grades, that you have satisfied all the university requirements like GWAR, and they will then, if you have applied for graduation on time, they will confer your degree and you'll get a diploma in the mail sometime thereafter. Diana would also be remiss, I'd be remiss in her eyes if I didn't remind you that you need to apply for graduation on time. There are deadlines, they're pretty strict. Our evaluators don't like to have to switch, that once they pass the deadline dates, they're on to some other tasks, because they do both admission and this evaluation, these program evaluations at the end for graduation and candidacy. So they switch gears and they go into another mode with all of the other stuff they're doing, and they don't want to have to go back, reopen things for one person and do late graduations. So please try to meet these deadlines. So once you apply, you're going to apply in advance, and you might apply for spring, and then you might send your thesis to me and I reject it, and then you can't graduate. So then you have to, that's not going to happen, by the way. Well, it might happen. I don't mean to scare anybody, but you just didn't finish on time, and you need another semester. Well, all you need to do is go to the GAPE website under Forms, and there's a graduation date change form, and you just mail it in, and you can change the date just like that. It's very easy to do, much easier than begging and pleading to have an earlier graduation date than they're going to let you have. Okay, I always get asked a lot. When we have the table over in the resource fair, the question that most often comes to me is how people can get some financial help. So we have an Office of Financial Aid. Obviously, you've probably already been familiar with them, and you can apply for financial aid through them, and that's the way most people get any kind of help whatsoever. We do have teaching and research assistantships. Those are not administered by Graduate Studies and Research or by GAPE. They are administered by individual departments. So if you would like to do a teaching assistantship, I highly recommend it. I did 8 of them when I was a graduate student. I did 2 research assistantships. Those are also nice. In fact, nicer because you don't have to, you're just doing your own research usually. But those are, you'll be dependent on your department and on your major professor. If your major professor has a grant and can pay you, they can give you a research assistantship. That's the way you get them. That's the way PhD granting institutions give them. They're never given by the university, really. It is something that is department specific and lab or field specific, depending on your area on your discipline. Campus jobs are available. I know our international students go after campus jobs a lot because they have certain restrictions about where they can work, and working on campus is one of the things they're allowed to do. So there's a lot of competition for campus jobs, but there are a lot of campus jobs. You can go door to door, as many do. You can go to the Career Center, which is in the administration building, and ask them how to go about getting them, and they will help you a lot. Scholarships, there are departmental scholarships that I don't even know about necessarily. The individual departments have been given endowments by different people, donations, and they've set up accounts and give yearly scholarships, sometimes as much as $1,000, sometimes as little as $100, but every little bit helps. So go through your department and see if your department offers anything. University level scholarships are not numerous, but there are some. Financial Aid Office has a web page, and they administer a certain number of them. Some of them are quite nice. I mean, one of them is it pays for your entire education, and it is one that almost no one ever applies for. So go through financial aid and ask them what they have. My office, Graduate Studies and Research, we have a set of scholarships. And in fact, you can find them by going to our website. There's the URL. And these are the ones that we administer. The Graduate Equity Fellowship is specifically for, well, almost all of them are really for, well, I shouldn't say that. The Graduate Equity Fellowship is for people that have problems with, or for low-income people. The awards are up to $3,000 per year. You can get it one time. There are certain requirements that you have to be enrolled in 6 units per semester, 2 straight semesters. You have to have a mentor, and because you have to have a mentor, we pretty much restrict this to second-year graduate students, unless you're in a 1-year program. We want you to get to know your faculty, find a mentor who will support you and write letters on your behalf, and who will kind of guide you through your academic program. And once you do that, then we have about $50,000 annually that we give out. So we give out quite a few of these. You have to write an essay, and I'm kind of tough on essays, so if you're going to write one, write a good one. Grammar and spelling and all those things count. I'm really a pain, I have to tell you. But it's a scholarship that many people qualify for. We have the CSU Pre-Doctoral Scholarship, which is a also for $3,000. This is a scholarship to help people who intend to go on to PhD programs. Not so much medical school and not so much doctoral programs, although EDDs are included, as are DNPs in the mix, if you know what those are. So these are, this is money for standardized tests, like if you have to take a GRE to get into a PhD program, it'll pay for that. It'll pay for you for trips to go to the campuses to see different universities that you might be interested in. It'll even pay for your mentor to go with you. So it's really quite nice. The CDIP, the Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program, is the next one. This is really the gold standard for our loan programs. It is a forgivable loan program in which you can get up to $30,000 to attend a PhD program. So if you are going to be, if you apply to a PhD program and you get in, and you think that you might want to come back to a CSU after you've gotten your PhD, you want to come back to a CSU to teach, that is the point of this program, to encourage you to come back to the fold and be one of us and teach here. And if you do that, then the loan is completely forgiven. They pay for your entire education. If you don't come back to a CSU and teach, and by the way, you could even be a lecturer. You don't have to be on a tenure track. But if you don't come back and teach, then it's a then you have to pay back the loan, but it's a reasonable loan rate. It's quite good. So keep this in mind for maybe a year down the road if a PhD is in your sights. This last thing is not really a scholarship. It's called the Student Research Competition, and I want to point it out to you because my office runs this thing. It is a competition for both undergraduates and graduate students who have done research and would like to present it. And you present it to a faculty committee, and if you win, and truthfully, we usually get about 20 people that participate. We'd like to have 50 or 100, but we usually get about 20, and we can send as many as 10 of them to a statewide competition, which is at a different one of the CSU campuses every year, and you go there and compete in the CSU student research competition, the overall system competition, and it's fun. You get a lot of kudos. You get a lot of benefits. We throw a lunch for you. We have a big ceremony, and then we throw a dinner. We pay for your trip to the CSU campus. We give you some money besides that. So it is really a nice thing, and we hope that you'll keep it in mind should you have some research to present in the future. Okay, so adhering to deadlines, I've already probably bored the death out of you for that. Makeup incompletes and RPs. An RP is something called a report in progress. It's like an incomplete. It's given in supervisory courses like thesis or project courses, and it is something that you need to make up. You can't have an RP or an incomplete on your record and graduate. We just won't let you graduate. You got to make those up. And you have 1 year to make up an incomplete, 2 years to make up an RP, and we just want you to keep that in mind that you need to do that. You can't just ignore it because they turn into Fs at the end of that time. And it's really easy. If you see that you're not going to make it, you can apply for an extension. We always give the extension. We've never turned down anybody that's asked for an extension, but you need to ask for it. And there's a form for it on the GAPE site where all our forms are. I did mention that you might be here 7 years, and because of that, we have a 7-year limit. So I know this sounds like, it's not me, it's not going to happen, but people do it, and they exceed 7 years. So your courses are only good for that long. Once you take your first course, add 7 years onto it, at that point it will expire, and you'd have to take it again. Or you can revalidate a certain number of them, but generally you'd have to take it again. So keep it in mind that you want to finish before that. We got a lot of rules. Too many rules probably, but we have a lot of rules and a lot of contingencies, and I spend a lot of time trying to make those rules clear and understandable in the catalog. So please, if you consult the catalog, everything's explained pretty well in there. We'll answer your questions, but we might say go to the catalog, it's explained there already. One of the things that's in there is a leave of absence. And then it kind of relates to the 7-year limit, because often what people do is they go the 7 years because they don't realize, they got sick sometime, or somebody in their family got sick, or they got pulled away because of their job, and they just had to be away for a certain period of time. Well, you might qualify for an official leave of absence. And one thing that the leave of absence does is it interrupts the 7-year limit. So the 7-year period is suspended for the time that you're on an official leave. And you can be on leave for 2 years. After that time, we'll say, we need your place to give to somebody else. But apply for it if you qualify. And medical reasons certainly do allow you to qualify. Okay, everyone has told you to check MySJSU often, so probably got the idea that we want you to do that. File your forms on time. Now, I just have to say this last thing. This is a little pet peeve of mine, I guess. I have a lot to do with GAPE. GSNR and GAPE used to be one office. We got We got separated. I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but we did get separated. My relationship to GAPE is very close. I have daily contact with almost all the people at GAPE, and I have certain roles that I play with them. I have to approve certain things, like, for example, revalidations. If you cross the 7-year limit, I have to approve the revalidation. I am involved in making policy for the graduate school. So we have a lot of contact, and Diana and I have meetings with one another, but we are separate. So don't necessarily blame me for things that you're mad at GAPE for. Look at if you need an extension on something, generally that's a GAPE function, and they're the ones to ask, not me. We are separate. We'll always listen to you. Most of the phone calls and questions you have are GAPE-related questions, and they should come through email to the GAPE evaluators or to Diana. We get about 50 phone calls a day. 49 of them should have been for GAPE and not for GS&R. GS&R does theses, we do scholarships, we do research money for faculty, we do policy, but we don't do graduation checks and admission requirements. And that's to emphasize that. Our forms are all present on the GAPE website, and I wish you the best. We are going now, don't leave yet, we're going now back to the student union. Thank you.